everyone, it is the end of week 3 of the Minimalist. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this experience, and I have to say that doing this a second time, this round 2, is actually very different than it was doing it the first time last year. Maybe it's because I'm coming from a different place in my life, or just having lived with the stuff for another year longer, and also reading like every single minimalism, organizing, and simplicity book that there is. It's given me a little bit more inspiration and a push to dig deeper. I've also learned a very important thing about myself, and that is that I am like the ideal onion when it comes to decluttering. I go through a space once, I get rid of the trash and the absolute let goes, I put it away, I come back the next day or a couple days or even weeks, months, years later, and I go through it again and I get rid of a few more things, and then I put it away, and then I get it back out and I go through it again and I get rid of a few more things. And apparently that's how I work, because that's how I've decluttered like every single space in my house. And it's probably normal. I think a lot of people call it like the waves of decluttering or the waves of purging. But I think that I might be a little bit more on the extreme end of needing to do it more times, or being able to like go back the next day and get rid of more things, because I'm a deep thinker and that's just like my brain just processes. And so when I see what's in a box, I'm like, okay, now I know it's in there. Now, do I really need this? Instead of like sitting there and making a decision right now about whether I need it all or use it all, letting my subconscious kind of sleep on it and think about it and do some of that processing for me. The next day I'll be like, oh, you know that one thing in there? It can go, you know? And so that's just how my brain works. And I really think that your personality plays a bigger role in decluttering and minimizing than we like to think it does. And so this is actually something that I'm doing a lot of research on right now, and I'm kind of digging into, because I think it matters. And I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about it, other than Clutterbug here on YouTube, and she also wrote a book. She talks about the personalities of decluttering, but I think a lot of us know our personalities in terms of how we work and how we function with our families, and whether we're introverts or extroverts. And we don't really think about that in terms of relationship to our stuff. So it's very interesting. But moving on to what I got rid of in week 3, I got rid of 126 items this week. And somebody asked, how do you count your items? Well, because you'll notice in my pictures, sometimes there are individual items that I count, and then sometimes there are piles that I count. And the reason I do that is because I want it to kind of even out. So if I feel like something is so small, like paper or very small items, I will count that as a collection, and I will count that as one. Now, there are other times when I might choose individual items, like little Play-Doh cookie cutters, and I might count them individually because, you know, they feel like they're a little bit more than one. It's not an exact science, and so it does mean that more things than, 465 will leave my house this month. In fact, I have a goal of over 500. We'll see if that happens. I'll let you know next week. But at the end of this week, 231 items total have left my house, which I'm so excited for. And I'm a little bit nervous about week 4, which is actually day 22 through 30, because that needs to have 234 items. So basically in the last part, you're getting rid of more than the entire first part. But I'm confident I can do it. And this week I went through mainly office supplies. I kind of stash office supplies, DIY materials, craft materials, sewing, scrapbooking, all these things that I've just kind of kept for the future, and I just don't use it all. So I also went through old schoolwork that I had been holding onto, and I started on my keepsakes boxes. I wrote a whole post about this, what it looks like to get rid of your ideal self. Yeah, I downsized from multiple keepsake boxes into one keepsake box. And I let go of some trinkets. I took pictures and let go of some of them. I let go of some old childhood crafts. I took pictures. I have a special file on my Google Drive that I put childhood things in, pictures of them. And then I also took pictures of a bunch of greeting cards and birthday cards and things that I've gotten over the years and recycled those. So this is the pictures of all of that. Day 15, I went through some old DIY things. A lot of this stuff was expired or things I wasn't using. Some office supplies, my old iPod case. Yeah, all of this miscellaneous stuff. Some mismatching socks. Yeah, they can go. Day 16 was a few more little DIY supplies that I didn't need anymore, and mostly office supplies, a couple of craft things. I went through boxes and went through them again and went through them again. And these are all extras that I'm just not going to get around to use. I keep my favorites, and this is stuff that's just, it never really should have been bought in the first place. And that's a hard realization to come to, but I'm moving on. Day 17 is mostly sewing and scrapbooking things. My childhood mouse cover that's missing an eye, that's been sitting in a box for I don't even know how long. Yeah. Things bought on clearance, some scissors that don't work well anymore, hem tape, and I don't even know. I don't use that kind of stuff anymore, so letting it go. Day 18, a few more random craft and sewing supplies, and a DVD that I don't watch, and some of my schoolwork from childhood, letting it go. Day 19, more schoolwork. Lots and lots of schoolwork. And scrapbooking, a scrapbook that's empty, and some more random office supplies from my drawer. Day 20, I had a bunch of this paper from the dollar store that I just don't use. And I started in my keepsake drawer. So cards, I took pictures of cards that I really wanted to remember and recycled them. And then some other little random things from around the house. Day 21, this one was hard. There were more cards and keepsakes over there, some craft things from my childhood, just some random little things from the keepsake box. The wrapped box there, I also got rid of. That used to hold some keepsakes. I moved all the keepsakes I wanted to keep into my I have a plastic tote that we are allowed one plastic tote each of keepsakes, and so I moved the most important things in there and let go of some of these other things. It was definitely a challenge to go through these areas because they're not easy areas to go through, and so it did take me sometimes several passes through them. Sometimes I would put the box away and I'd come back later that day or that night or the next morning and come up with a little bit more. And so you'll see, like, even in the pictures on the days, it wasn't like all sewing one day. I had like some sewing over here and some over here and some over here, because I would keep going back to those areas and getting rid of a little bit more. The harder areas, it definitely took me a couple of days to go through them. And I ended up putting the keepsake box back, but I need to pull it out again because I need to go through my journals and papers and stories yet. That's gonna be hard. I've really been inspired and pushed to keep only the things that really matter. And a lot of it I've said, oh, well, I want to keep these craft supplies because my daughter might use them someday. Well, first of all, she's probably not. It's probably not a big deal to go out and let her pick out her own scrapbook. I don't need to keep a bunch of empty ones around just in case. Most of the supplies I have are probably not gonna be in great condition. And as I remember, even from my own childhood, kids as they grow want their own things. You know, right now I can give her pretty much anything and she's like thrilled with it for 3 seconds. But as she grows, she's going to want to spend her own spending money on her own things, and those things are going to come into the house. And so if I keep all my stuff for her, then you not only have all my stuff, but then you have all her stuff, and that's not a very well-run house. So I'm really pushing myself to let go, to start to say, you know, I'm going to keep the things that are most important to me, the things that we use together when we do crafts, the things that matter. And I'm going to make a little bit extra room because it's okay to let go. It's okay to let go, and it's okay to have breathing space. And it's far better to have clear spaces to do things at than piles and piles and piles all around you. So I'll get off my soapbox now. And that is it for week 3 of the Minimalist Game. I will see you in July for a recap of what I did the last week of June. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.